Just got back from a road trip up to Austin, Minnesota, about a 200-mile round trip to get some 2-inch thick or 8-quarter white oak that's quarter sawn. Been having a real difficulty finding any here at my local resources, so a guy had some inventory up there, took the drive up, got to look through his stock, pick out 4 really good boards, and they will work real well for the next project I have in the wood shop. Here's a view of the boards close up. I ended up getting boards that were 9 foot in length, not 10 foot. I'd hoped for 10 foot because we could get 4 pieces per board, but just didn't make sense. The few 10-foot boards that he had weren't really good, but these should be nice. There you can see the ray fleck. It's very pronounced on that board. There is a little bit of sapwood that will cut that out. That won't be part of the final product, but you can see what we're working with. This is basically just a little wipe of mineral spirits to really give you an idea. Today I get to start a new project, which is always an exciting thing. I'm going to be making a pair of tops. They'll be replacements for a pair of end tables that have a ceramic tile with a wood frame. And the gentleman really would like solid hardwood tops. So I'm going to be using quarter sawn white oak. It's very hard and stable wood. I've previously got these 4 boards out of Austin, Minnesota, had them kind of sitting here in the shop, kind of acclimating. And now it's time to start the process. There is 8-quarter white oak. It's 2 inches thick when they cut it on the sawmill. Then after it's kiln dry and it shrinks a little bit, and then they run it through a planer to do what they call hit and miss. It's just enough to take a little bit off the surface so when you're purchasing it, you can tell what you're getting. But you can see there's still mill marks left there from the sawmill. And this has also been straight line ripped. So there is one straight edge, but you'll notice the other one has curves and in and out. So it's always a little easier to work with when you have one straight edge. I've taken time and really looked over the boards and marked out any defects with a blue marker, whether they be knots, any little checks, even cracks along the edge that could potentially cause problems. So the tops are going to be 28 inches long, final dimension. So I need parts that are at least 30 inches long. And these are 9-foot boards, so 3 parts is the maximum I'm going to get out of them. So what I'm trying to do is make rough cuts to give me smaller pieces to work with machining. But I want to make those cuts in such a way that if there's a defect, I have a little liberty to move. Like here's an end check here. So I'd like this part to be a little longer because probably I'm going to cut more waste off the end. Time spent here really makes a difference in making sure you can get some good usable parts. I've been over them, put a rough thing, so now I'm going to go and start cutting them to length on the miter saw. Putting the straight edge against the fence. Well, I took time now that the boards are cut and just labeled which board was which and what joints go together. It might help me a little bit in color matching the tops later. But before I leave a shop at night, I always like to kind of spacer or sticker up my parts just to make sure we get good even airflow across them. And you just never know. Sometimes you think you're going to be back at it the next day and you might not. So just as a matter of practice, it's good to put spacers in them. Especially as I start to plane and joint them, I'm getting further into the board, and it's good to have equal airflow around the parts just to be sure there's no surprises and no warps. So I've cut the pieces into those manageable 12 pieces, and then I've laid them on a flat surface to determine how flat they are. Of the 12 pieces, only this one was very flat. Most of them have a twist in them. This is really common when working with lumber. And if you lay it on a flat surface, two corners are touching, but the other ones are not. So it's a twist like this. And that's important to know when you're running across the joiner to flatten one surface. I also look to see which one's the least twisted, because that means you have to take less material off on the joiner. Some of them are bowed, meaning the board's got this type of thing. And it's important to put the stable side down on the joiner. It's just easier to flatten that surface. Here's a close-up of that twist. More pronounced on that side. I have the boards all stacked, ready to go through the planer with the flat face down. Now I'm taking the first pass through the planer, a very light cut. It took several passes through the planer to clean up all the defects.